At some point, almost any organization has to put together an organizational chart, or what we would refer to in EOS as an accountability chart. For the remainder of this, we'll call it an organizational chart because that's a little bit more traditional language. And the biggest mistake that I see when teams or companies are building their organizational chart is the process that they go through to basically create that organizational chart. And the biggest mistake is this, that you start to look at the people that you have, you figure out the things that they do, you write all those things down, you draw a box around that person, you figure out who reports to them and who they report to, and you start to move on in that way. What the correct way of building an organizational chart is to build the structure first and then think about the people second. And what this does is it forces you to think about what the needs of your organization are outside or independent of the people that you currently have. The needs of your organization will change as you grow, but they are fixed at this period in time. The people can come and go tomorrow. Jeff may win the lottery. Sarah may get recruited by another firm. Somebody may decide that they just no longer want to work at your company. Somebody may get promoted to another level. And when we start to draw seats around people as opposed to seats around the needs of the organization, it becomes really, really dangerous. I'm going to illustrate what I mean. So here's a traditional maybe leadership team, right? And just focus on kind of the red. So we've got a marketing, a business development, a customer support, a product development, finance, HR, admin. Oftentimes in businesses or organizations of 50 or less, those kind of all get wrapped into one seat on the organizational chart or the leadership team. Above that, we've got CEO, COO. In EOS, we would call that generally a visionary and an integrator. But for now, again, we'll stick to traditional terms. So this is what our leadership team looks like, or the major functions or teams of our organization. From there, we need to start to figure out roles that each team or function is going to be responsible to. So let's say we take business development. I've got this one a little bit bigger. And if we start by figuring out what Mark is really good at, or what Mark currently does for our team, and we start to draw a box around him, we may start with LMA, which is lead, manage, and accountability. These are things that any team leader should be in charge of: the hiring, firing, onboarding, training, all of that type of stuff, scheduling that gets wrapped up into what that function will most likely be responsible for. Below that, we've got new business, we've got partner relationships, and then those are traditional business development roles. But we've also found out that Mark comes from a tech background, and so he's actually really good at building out our CRM. He is great with numbers, and we just don't really have enough horsepower over here to do the payroll. So Mark's taking on the payroll, and then he also takes on our website because, like I said, he's got a tech background. He kind of knows when he needs to update pricing and things like that. He doesn't want to have to go to marketing. And so we draw this box around Mark that looks like this: LMA, new biz, partner relationships, CRM, payroll, and website. And while Mark may do a great job at all of those, it's not the needs of the organization. If we were drawing this without Mark, CRM would most likely be in customer support, payroll would most likely be over here in finance, website would most likely be in marketing. And the danger to doing it this way is that, again, when Mark wins the lottery and says, adios, I'm out of here, all of a sudden we're trying to figure out how we can hire somebody with Mark's unique skill sets that didn't really match the needs of the organization. We drew a seat around what Mark was great at. Or we start taking CRM, and all of a sudden that now becomes an additional responsibility for customer support. Payroll now becomes an additional responsibility for Sam. Website becomes an additional responsibility for Pam. And all of a sudden, people start to pull their hair out. And so what I really want to encourage you to do, and it's so challenging and difficult, it's why bringing somebody like myself in who can kind of keep you on track when you're actually building this out with your leadership team, you just need to remove people from the equation when you start to build this out. Structure first, people second. And so design what your organization needs in a vacuum without any people here. Just assume that every single person in your organization won the lottery tomorrow. You're going to have to rehire every single position. How would you start to draw up those seats? That's the structure that your organization needs. From there, we can find people and start to drop them into seats. Now, sometimes this creates challenging decisions as a leadership team. Mark may be an amazing person that you absolutely love. He fits the culture of your organization, but when we start to look at what our organization needs, we don't really have a need for Mark. He's kind of talented here, but he's not really what we need for biz dev. He's not good enough in marketing, and we may have to make tough decisions. But ultimately, if we can get somebody in here who's doing what we need from business development, put these where they need to be in the organization or the accountability chart, and start to have people responsible for the things that they should be responsible for, we can build a healthy organization that's ready to scale. So think about that. Take a look at your existing organization chart and figure out, have you built this around the people that you have at your organization, or have you built this around the needs of an organization that you've lost everybody tomorrow, you would build it the exact same way. I'd love to get your feedback, see how your organizational chart is working out. And remember, this will be updated from time to time as your organization grows. The needs of your organization will start to shift around. Oftentimes, roles start to elevate upwards, or I should say elevate downwards to a lot of these things that were once up here will now become a little bit lower on the organizational chart and allow people to focus on less task-oriented things and more strategy, leadership, process-oriented things as your organization grows. So anyways, I hope that's helpful. Think about building an accountability chart or an organizational chart with structure first, people second.